Thank you, Louis, and hello, everybody. It's really great to be here at KCD UK with all of you. As you might have guessed from the title of our talk, today we're going to talk about inclusive communities and how to build them and how to maintain them. Of course, it's not as easy as it sounds, so let's have a look at the agenda first. We've actually broken down the talk in 3 parts, so we're going to start with some definitions, so we're sure that we are all on the same page. Then we're going to get into the building part, and the 3rd part is going to be about maintaining. Last but not least, we're going to conclude the talk with some key takeaways that hopefully they're going to be helpful for you. Right, so let's kick off with define. What we actually want to define is that what does it mean to be an inclusive community? There is a great quote by Verna Meyers, who's an inclusion strategist, that goes straight to the point, which is diversity is being asked to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. So basically, this is a great party to attend. It's a party where everybody is not only aware of their differences, but they welcome them, they understand them. It's a party where everybody can speak their mind, they can be themselves. It's a party where everybody is valued and respected, no matter their gender, gender identity, sexual orientation, political views, marital status, you name it. And last but not least, it's a party where no matter how proficient of a dancer you are, you're gonna get to dance anyway, or you're gonna have someone showing you the ropes.
Thanks, Carla. I'm definitely someone that needs to be shown the ropes when it comes to dancing. Okay, so Brené Brown, a renowned researcher in vulnerability, courage, belonging, and leadership, interviewed a couple of people, a lot of people actually, and asked them what they wanted to achieve in life. And one of the key things that they spoke about was to be part of something, to really experience real connection with others, not at the cost of authenticity, freedom, or power. All of us here today are here because we're part of the tech community, but we all have different lived experiences. And while the tech community is one thing that keeps us together, there's something above all else, and that is that we are human. And we all have that same human belonging, or human yearning for belonging and authentic connection. To create a safe space of true belonging, we don't want to have to change who we are, but really be who we are. And this requires working from the inside out. I'm going to take you through how we've done that at the company we work with now, and it's all about building inclusive, diverse, open, and safe communities. Let's introduce ourselves. Why us? As you can see, we don't always take ourselves seriously. We are serious about this topic, though. We're standing in front of you today not because we have everything figured out, but because we care, because we're learning, we're unlearning, and we're trying as we go. I'm going to introduce Carla, although I don't think she needs much introduction. I think most people in this room already know her pretty well. But I'll introduce the Carla that I know. Whether it's in a Slack channel, or it's within our team, or it's on stage, Carla makes a difference wherever she goes. Her years of experience in events have given her a front row seat into what it takes to curate, nurture, and empower communities. As head of content, events, and community at Container Solutions, she's my right hand, and often she's my left hand too. She's someone that cares deeply about people and as deeply about the communities they're part of. And I'm very proud to be standing next to her today.
Thank you, Jade. And this is Jade. And she's the head of marketing at Container Solutions. And again, there's a lot of things I can tell about Jade. She's an excellent strategist, for starters, but she's also very passionate. She's creative, she's ingenious, she's determined. She's also very kind and understanding. But that's not why we're giving the talk together today. The reason is that Jade cares about people. She cares about understanding them. She cares about elevating them. And she cares about building something with them. At the end of the day, what she cares about is leaving the world a bit better compared to how we found it. And that's why Jade is, above all, a great human being.
Thank you very much. Okay, Thank you.
Get started. Yeah.
So jumping into the build part that we were speaking about, there's many aspects to creating a safe space. It's about empathy, it's about psychological safety, it's about support, it's about having the space to fail, space to learn, honesty, respect, acceptance, accountability, and much, much more. So the question we started asking ourselves is, how do we create this sense of belonging and connection? What does the foundation look like? And what we found is that it really does need to come from the inside out. To feel a sense of belonging, we need to know ourselves. To create a sense of belonging, we need to know each other. So from an individual perspective, it requires us to be brave enough to show up wholeheartedly, but that's not enough. We need to have an inclusive space that allows you to show up wholeheartedly. And that's where it goes from the individual to the internal community or team, and then to the wider community. So one of the ways we've done this and gave everyone a voice at Container Solutions was to create a shared value system. It not only went from the inside out, but it also went from the bottom up. We co-created our company values to serve as a guide for all of us to follow, to use as our guiding light, and determine how we behaved, both externally and internally. And it's a way that we were able to hold ourselves accountable. So, still with the inside out, our shared value system is really the foundation for how we exist, both internally and externally. The key to creating this value system that is truly shared, created by and representing all of us, was in order to build the internal community. What we did is we went across all the teams within Container Solutions, and we created workshops across the teams. And the reason we did these workshops is because a workshop, when facilitated correctly, can really be a powerful way to bring diverse groups of people together. It's a way to bring insights that are human, honest, and inclusive, and it really does give everyone a voice at the table. This results in meaningful change. It's important when you're doing these kinds of workshops to allow time for discussion. You don't want more than 8 people in a workshop at a time to make sure that everyone is heard. So if you do need to split up teams, split them up into smaller teams. I'm going to share the format of this workshop, so if you have a good memory, I'm jealous. Otherwise, feel free to take some notes or we can chat afterwards.
Now it's the time.
Okay, so the first step we did, as I said, starting from the individual. So we gave people the opportunity to select a number of values that they truly felt connected to, 10, 20, 30, however many it was that really resonated with them. We then got the teams or each individual to select their top 5 that they really, really felt connected to. This gave us the opportunity to understand what was most important to each individual. Still within the individual space, we looked for similarities between the top 5 values that each person has. It gave us the opportunity to see what was the same, what was different, and what appeared more than once. So words like fun and humor, they're not the same words, but they are connected in some shape or form, and it gave us the opportunity to discuss what that actually meant to people. Then we expanded more into a group setting. So once all the individual values had come together, we started looking for themes. The point of these themes is not to just have them as like a loosely coupled thing, but it's about really defining what the words mean. So the discussion is key here because words mean different things to different people. So the goal is to really create a shared understanding of language so that everyone is aligned and clear on what it is that we're actually saying. We took tons of notes in the background for this actually because we wanted to be able to use these later and really, really, really understanding what people meant when they were speaking to each other. The 4th step was to look for a representation of those themes. So we started to get a wider understanding of what these values looked like. Mainly now it's to see what do they look like personified. So this helps us to connect the values to behavior. So why is Princess Diana connected to compassion? Or why is Yoda connected to knowledge? Again, it gives the opportunity and the space for conversation. Step 5 is to create a character to represent these themes. None of them looked great, but they were all very, very, very valuable. So we created a mashup of what a character would look like, with the limbs and the parts representing the values. Heart, for example, would speak to courage, or holding hands would speak to collaboration. Outside of this being really, really fun, we were able to start to visualize what the values looked like for us. The final step was to discuss how the character would act in different situations. I've mentioned this already in this presentation, but the key is behavior. So the last steps within each team was to look at the scenarios and understand how a character would act if they were to run into a burning building, or if they needed to work with others. What would they do if they got stuck? The thing here, again, is behavior and how do we hold ourselves accountable? What are we going to use to guide us? Eventually, we had characters and key values for every single team in the company. Then what we needed to do is go back to step 3, where we bundled those into themes and unpacked the words that people had used and gave meaning to every single word from every conversation that was had, pretty much. I'm going to share our top 5 values that we created together at Container Solutions, and how we work that guide how we work both internally and externally, and how we hold each other to account. So we've got 5 core values: growth, trust, purpose, collaboration, and creativity. These are just words. They don't, I think they mean different things to every single person in this room. Growth, for example, to us, though, it means that if we don't know how to do something, we will learn. It means that we learn from each other and from reflection, and it means that when we know better, we do better. So this all came from people's input and ideas of what they believed these terms meant. Passion and resilience drive us to achieve purpose. We strive to do meaningful work that is of real value to anyone, really, from customers to teammates to the community. That's what drives us. And then creativity. It's about experimenting, it's about growing, it's about taking risks, it's about breaking rules, it's about making mistakes, and mostly it's about having fun. So once we had our top 5 values, we looked at, okay, how do we take this internal value system and expand it outwards? And what we did is we got WTF is cloud native. I can't say the real word, I'm too nervous now. But I want to share a little bit about how this started, and then Carla can talk about how it's going. But ultimately, it's really, really important to define your purpose, because that is what's going to guide you, and that should be based on your value system. So in the beginning of 2020, we were a brand new marketing team, big ambitions, big ideas. We were ready to curate our own special tech community around events, gatherings, all sorts of connections. And then a pandemic arrived, and we had to relook pretty much everything. So with this came the opportunity for us to re-strategize and focus on building a community with purpose intentionally. So using Simon Sinek's Golden Circle, we started to think, okay, why do we exist? What is our purpose? And often this is the most difficult to answer. And most of the time, people are able to say what they do, but very rarely they can say why they do it. And after some work and some exploring and some digging, and of course using our values to guide us, we defined our North Star and our why as, through innovation, we will collectively build a better tomorrow. How we do that is by collaborating with the community. We increase the understanding of the cloud-native world through content and ideas. What do? We facilitate learning and conversations through accessible content, focusing on 5 main pillars: strategy, culture, technology, equal opportunity, and ecological impact. So that's how our values guided us to our purpose, and that's how WTF is Cloud Native started. Ultimately, it's by the community, with the community, for the community. That's how it started. Carla, I'm going to hand over to you to tell us how it's going.
Right. How is WTF is Cloud Native going nowadays? So since it's launched in November 2020, we now have more than 4,000 subscribers to our newsletter. We run 12 bi-monthly collections with topics that we explore together with the tech community. We run over 30 what the fuckiners. We launched a conference, the WTF is Cloud Native Conference last November. We launched another conference, WTF is Necessary, that has run twice and is running again next year, actually this venue. So save the day, 4th and 5th of May. And recently we also launched a podcast series and we are now at podcast number 8, if I remember correctly. So this is very exciting for us, but the question that we want to pose is, how are our internal values that Jade just shared influencing the identity and the purpose of our community, WTF is Cloud Native? Let's try to find out, and let's go value by value. So starting with growth, like we said, the principle of growth is that when we know better, we can do better. And that's why we educate each other. That's literally why we are asking WTF is microservices, WTF is burnout, WTF is Istio. That's because we want to learn. It's the same principle as open source. When we are contributing together, we can learn more and go further. Trust. Trust is about being yourself. When you feel safe, you come holistically, as a person, as an individual, as a professional, as a community member. But when you're coming as yourself holistically, you're also creating a safe space for others to be the same, to be as safe as yourself. And that's why we consistently drill or certain topics like, again, psychological safety, because sometimes they're considered soft, but they are at the base, at the foundation of our community, tech, social community, all of them. Creativity. Right. We all express ourselves in different ways. We all learn in different ways. It doesn't matter if the content is video, is recorded, is audio, is live, like today. We all try to be as accessible as possible with the content that we produce. And that's because at the end of the day, the more the merrier, and we want to have fun together. If you attended one of our conferences, you might have seen that we like to dress up. It's just another excuse to be together and have a laugh. But as a community together, we can also break the rules. We can make mistakes, hopefully learn from them as well. We can take risks. You know, with this brand, it was a huge risk at the beginning. But again, we can try our best to be as accessible as possible. And lastly, we can think outside the box. You know, we talk about the pandemic, who doesn't? But that was a massive curveball for everybody. But it was also a great opportunity to reinvent ourselves and actually push some boundaries that we didn't even think we had to push. Next in line is collaboration. Again, if we had all the answers, we wouldn't be asking all the WTFs. But honestly, who has all the answers anyway? That's why we literally need everybody. That's why we have open call for papers. That's why we have external contributors to our newsletter. And we couldn't be more grateful to have all the people that just gave a little bit of their time to be with us. Because what we saw is that they were not just, writing a blog or giving a talk. They were literally embracing our values and be in this journey with us. So I know some of you are in this room, actually. So thank you in person. It's a great opportunity. Okay, last but not least, in terms of values, is purpose. Like Jade was saying, we all want to do something meaningful. It doesn't matter if it's big or small, we really want to give our contribution to the cloud community, to our own communities. That's actually why events like this are run by volunteers. These are organized late nights, weekends, doesn't matter, but that's why we want to do this. That's why we all kept going during the pandemic, despite the world burning, literally. And that's why we are definitely never stopping asking all the WTF questions. And the great part is that we are definitely not the only ones. There's a lot of other communities that are doing this, like even the DevOps Days, for example. They're scattered all over the world, but they still manage to stay true to what they believe in. And I think, KCD UK, we're doing good, right? Okay, so this is great. I think it can be even inspiring if you want. But here's one difficult question. How do we hold ourselves accountable? The short answer is written over there, over here, is staying true to your purpose. It actually happened sometimes that people came to us saying, I don't really want to work with you because you're called WTF is cloud native. I don't really agree with this. In these situations, having actually a set of values in place helps you giving the answer. Because of course it's not about swearing. It's about our values. It's about being human. It's about being ourselves. And that's why also the content that we delivered, again, it's not just about tech. We love tech. That's why we're here, actually. But it's all about all the other layers, the cultural layer, the psychological layers as well. And at the end of the day, it's just a matter of giving people the space to have a voice and to truly, truly listen to them. Right. Third part of the talk. It's another difficult one. I've got all the difficult parts of the word, that talk. Right, so we're here. We built a great community. It's diverse, it's inclusive, it's amazing. How do we ensure that this is not going away? How do we maintain our inclusive community? So, yeah, this slide is called "It's More Than Just a Code of Conduct," but you actually need one. And arguably, having a code of conduct, it is the first step to nurture a positive and safe environment. So one of the first thing that I would like to share actually about a code of conduct is that it's for everybody. Doesn't matter if you are the organizer, doesn't matter if you're a speaker, if you wrote the code of conduct, if you're a sponsor who paid a lot of money to be at the conference, nobody is above that. Everybody should abide to the code of conduct. And of course, a lapse of judgment can happen to everybody. It happens to the most experienced speakers, the most experienced community members. But that's why having it there gives you the opportunity to learn a new perspective, for example, something you didn't know. It wasn't really working for someone else. And it's also an important reminder of your values. That's why the code of conduct is there. So, what happens when, we're all nice, we talk about the code of conduct. Paula spent actually a long time this morning to talk about it, but we also need to be ready to enforce it. No matter how uncomfortable it is, it's not a nice thing, but no matter how good we are, we're gonna find ourselves in that situation. So I've been doing this job for over 10 years now, and it never gets easier. Fortunately, and the other unfortunate part is that there's no blanket solution to situations. What I have learned is that you need to listen carefully and be ready to take quick action. At the end of the day, the question that you have to ask yourself is, what can I do now to bring back the situation to a safe environment? So there is this a very brief interlude, I promise, but I would like to share a story. And again, this was in London, pre-pandemic, big conference, thousands of people. And as an organizer, I was approached by an attendee, and they wanted to report a breach of the code of conduct because one of the speakers used some language that they deemed inappropriate and offensive. This attendee was actually happy to talk to the speaker themselves. And of course, what I did is I just put them in contact. On the spot, right away, they had the opportunity to talk. And actually, the result was the best result that an organizer can hope for, because the speaker issued a public apology. They recognized that they didn't really talk properly. And the attendee was actually extremely grateful because they had the opportunity to make a person learn, and actually they had a voice at the conference. So this made me realize how much of an impact as organizers and as community leaders we actually have. How important it is to ensure and maintain this safety, because then we're giving the opportunity to other individuals to be brave enough to come to us and report when something is not right. And that's also why it's extremely important to have the code of conduct visible and to be able to report a misconduct in the easiest and quickest way. But the bit I would like to conclude this part with is a reminder for everybody to also be empathetic. Because it's very, very important to enforce the code of conduct, to be as strict as possible in ensure safety. But it's as important to remember that we are all humans. We can make mistakes, but if someone is willing to rectify the mistake and learn from the mistakes, it makes a massive difference. So empathy always wins.
Empathy.
I leave to Jay to wrap up.
Cool, thank you, Carla. Empathy, empathy, empathy. So we're going to summarize some key takeouts for you too. I know we're up, time is up now. So the first one is it's very easy to bond over negativity and challenges. It's how difficult is it to foster a diverse community? How hard is it to keep purpose strong and resilient? How hard it is to keep up with a constantly changing community that's always becoming bigger and bigger. The important thing is that you're stronger when you bond over your values. The second point is to give people the space to show up, to really, really, really listen, and to start from the inside out. Belonging is something that connects us all, and is something we can create, so let's do that. Know yourself. Start from the inside out. Find safe spaces for yourself and create those same safe spaces for each other. The fourth part is all of us are accountable for building and maintaining diverse, inclusive, and safe communities. No matter the role, no matter what you do in that, no matter your role, no matter whether you're a leader or a member or a temporary visitor, we're all accountable for our behaviors and to learning from our mistakes. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.